My name is Jesse Lavoie, and I am running a PTSD awareness campaign with the help of Namaste Technologies. I'm here today with Ian Benouis. How you doing today, Ian?
I'm doing great, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
You mind telling us a little bit about yourself, Ian?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Hawaii where cannabis was decriminalized and part of the culture before DARE education and the green harvest, the cannabis eradication using military resources left Hawaii with one of the country's kind of first and then worst meth epidemics. So I had a good experience with cannabis and the culture there before all that. Went to West Point, was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot in the Army, went down to Panama for Operation Just Cause, which was the largest combat operation, obviously focused on the war on drugs. And then I got out right before Desert Storm, moved to Texas, became a pharmaceutical rep for Pfizer, where we were launching all those, synthetic opioids and SSRIs. And then went to law school, got out, raised a family here in Austin, used a lot of plant medicines back in law school to heal myself, and then connected with veterans a couple of years ago. And that really opened me up and started my kind of next round of healing. So I dove back into working with the plants and then started sharing out with other veterans because I knew what these medicines could do for myself. And yeah, cannabis, of course, has been the first line of that.
Well, it sounds like you've been a part of a lot of things.
I've been working at this for a long time.
I
So yeah.
understand you're a part of a couple different organizations. Do you mind telling us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so like I said, Veterans for Entheogenic Therapy, Ryan LeCompte, and then We4Warriors Project, Sean Kiernan, and both friends of mine who are really trying to promote the direct nexus of healing veterans with these plants. Weed for Warriors is really focused on people who are coming right back from Iraq and Afghanistan and who need just immediate support system, immediate medicine, and cannabis is really the first line of that to treat the symptoms of PTSD. Whereas like Veterans for Entheogenic Therapy, that's once you've got your symptoms under control, then you can work on addressing the underlying trauma that's causing the PTSD to begin with.
Oh,
So.
okay. What are some of the latest things your organizations have done?
Well, I think it's, in things that I've kind of done, on my own and with other different veterans and veterans groups is trying to just really take veterans through these plant medicine traditions, protocols, experiences, ceremonies, to show ourselves, to figure out what these things can do, how they can work. And that's really, you know, uh, been what we're doing. I've been taking veterans to Peru, like I said, in Mexico. And then I think We for Warriors has been trying to focus a little bit more on trying to, affect things politically with the VA and focus on that side of the equation and the government.
Oh wow, both these organizations, they take up a lot of your time.
No, I think those people are really running those. I'm just supporting them. But what I've been doing is I took five other veterans down to Peru last year to do ayahuasca and other plant medicines, and cannabis is the medicine that got them there to where they could be able to go down and do that. And we turned that into a documentary, and it's available now on YouTube, on the internet, Soldiers of the Vine. So I think it's just trying to raise awareness. We did a ceremony last summer that Ryan and his crew put on in Colorado with a bunch of veterans with the medicine and those kind of things. So healing ceremonies. So finding other veterans that are called and ready for the medicine to be able to share it to them, and taking veterans, outside the country. Unfortunately, it's not really sustainable, but that's one of the uh, few options that are currently available. So.
And I understand you're also a part of the film From Shock to Awe. Can you tell us a little bit about this film?
Yeah, so really, I'm just the part of the crew supporting, right? The making of this, and another Matt Kale who was went with us to Peru as well soon after his experience that was captured from Shock to Awe, And yeah, it's just all the same message is that veterans need a way to reintegrate back into society. They need a way to wash off the war paint. Traditional societies would do that. They'd bring the warriors back, they'd set them aside, you know, separate them for a certain amount of time and have them go through purification rituals and trans- transition rituals and transformation rituals and give them the right medicines to help them accomplish that, to bring them back in. And, we need to be able to do that. And, yeah, these are just showing the power of these medicines to do that. And then also really showing, from Choctaw, really is able to show that the family side of this, the secondary PTSD, how these things affect other family members, and then when more than one family member is a veteran. And so that's the whole point, is that we've all learned trauma is trauma. It doesn't matter the source of it. And so, and trauma leads to more trauma. So you have to not only fix that veteran's trauma, but fix the family trauma. And then society's trauma's next.
Well, for the viewers who don't know, PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Can you tell us what are some common symptoms of PTSD?
Sure. Well, the veterans that I'm encountering, and the most frontline stuff, right, is that during the day it's hyperarousal, right? They're hypersensitized to any kind of sensory information in the environment, just like an animal would be, because when they were in war, everything was life or death all the time, and that's how they've been basically programmed. So that's one of the symptoms, and then maintaining that when you're not in a dangerous environment. And then at night, insomnia. It's really you can't sleep, because during your REM sleep, instead of having dreams, you're having nightmares, and the nightmares just won't stop. And so that's another symptom. So anxiety, just generalized anxiety all the time. So those are the big things that veterans have, is that hyperarousal, the anxiety, the can't sleep, and of course, as we know, cannabis can treat all of those symptoms.
Well, that leads me to my next question. What are some of the benefits of using medical marijuana for these symptoms?
Yeah, well, right away, veterans come back and they're put in this cocktail, these meds, which kind of dope them up, but don't really allow them to have deep relaxation and quality sleep. And so, or they're drinking alcohol and, passing out and feeling like crap. So basically, the number one, being able to sleep through the night is like the foundation for all this other stuff. Because even if you're not hyper aroused during the day and you don't have as much anxiety, if you're not functioning on any kind of quality sleep, you're just shot. So cannabis, that's the first foundation of it. And then so you get a good night's sleep and you don't have those nightmares. And so then during the day, you're already not as anxious, and you're not as, hyper aroused. So, and then cannabis can help with that kind of stuff during the day. So it just can really help to dampen those systems, which, they've been in an environment where it's life or death all the time. That fight or flight system is just hyper turned on, and the built-in system can't, the endocannabinoid system has failed to be able to support it, and you need that external plant to be able to back it up.
Now, in your opinion, do you think medical marijuana is much more effective than traditional prescription medication?
Well, absolutely, because those medications, they're not meant to be maintenance drugs, and I saw that at Pfizer. If someone has a crisis, those things could be useful and supportive in that 2 to 4 to 6 week kind of period, but for longer term everyday use, they just really don't work. Instead of what they do is just compress the whole signal, so you don't have the low end, but you don't have the high end. So this is what the veterans experience when they're on the cocktail meds, is that just everything's compressed down. There's no low, but there's no high. You're just a zombie. You're a pharmaceutical prisoner in your own body. And so cannabis doesn't do that. It allows you to deal with to treat those symptoms, but still have a good quality of life.
Are certain strains of medical marijuana more effective than others?
Well, I think it's going to totally, this is like medicine, where we can treat ourselves with the strains that have the essential oils in there, and the mixture cannabinoids are going to be a best profile for us. A veteran coming back from war, You're not going to want to be giving that guy right off the bat some kind of strong sativa because it's going to make him paranoid and even more anxious. You're going to give him something more towards on the indica side of the spectrum, right, where it's going to give him relaxation and not get his mind going. It's going to relax his mind and let it slow down. So yeah, and then that allows each person, each veteran, and then at each part of where they are in their healing process. I've seen veterans go with those more indicas to start, and then as they progress in their healing and they do their work, then they're able to use the other, more brain, energy enhancing, inducing ones because they can handle those as they get better.
Have you or do you know anyone who's used vaporizers for medical marijuana?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I don't think sharing joints will ever go out of style, but everyone realizes if you're going to use cannabis medicinally and you're not going to eat it, right, you're going to put it in a vaporizer because that is the safest way to. It's basically vaporizing the essential oils versus burning them. So, yeah, all veterans who get hooked up with the medical cannabis get the good advice, whether it's a portable vaporizer or more a home-based one or whatever. There's you don't if you're going to use cannabis as medicine, you're not going to be burning it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot healthier than traditional smoking. There's no carcinogens, no butane from the
Yeah,
lighter. Do you?
yeah. You can get your temperature right, exactly what you want to release different profiles of the terpenes and cannabinoids. You have a lot of control.
Do you have a favorite vaporizer yourself?
You know what? I've got the classic volcano I've had for a long time, and this thing you put away and then you bust out, and you're like, wow, this thing is still pretty amazing. And they just so the company just added a little kind of bubbler to it, which is kind of for fun, that you put on top between the bag. But yeah, I mean, to me, a dabbing right is a form of essential oil vaporization. So if you're anything where you're vaporizing something is just a healthy, safe way to do it. And I guess I like dabbing because it's you can get really good control over it, and I don't smoke indoors. So
So, what is the current process for a veteran in the United States to be approved for medical marijuana?
that's a great question, Jesse. There's one veteran in the United States that I'm aware of. He's currently serving. He was injured in Iraq or Afghanistan, and they allowed him to come back and serve in this kind of limited capacity because of his injuries, and he's in a medical state, and he's allowed to. And so, veterans in states where there's medical cannabis, if they're lucky and their VA doctor doesn't give them a hard time, can get away with using cannabis. But the federal VA system doesn't allow for it. So it's a real problem where basically vets are having to choose between cannabis or their other meds. And there's a lot of veterans that are in so much pain and stuff. They need the other meds along with the cannabis even, And so, yeah, it's a real problem. That's what we're trying to change the scheduling here in the U.S. because that's absolutely necessary so that then hopefully we could just have a more liberalized policy and the VA could talk about it. But so from that standpoint, really, veterans are on their own trying to find out about medical cannabis.
Are they reimbursed for the medical cannabis?
Well, it was so yeah, so not yet. And but even though some insurance companies in recent litigation have been required to cover it, so not yet. But I think that's going to change, and that's again part of changing these laws to make it just another option and make it acceptable and reimbursable. And so yeah, we want veterans to be able to get it because it saves lives. So
Absolutely. Up here in Canada, veterans are reimbursed for a certain amount of medical marijuana, and it's good that they don't have to pay out of their own pockets for something they need.
it's beautiful, and that should be exactly what we should be aiming towards. And gosh, I feel if you're a veteran, you should be able to get free cannabis from society, right from a contribution from society. That would be a nice way to say that you support the troops.
Are there any important dates coming up for the movement?
Well, talking this, what we're talking about cannabis for veterans is this study that Sue Sisley's got going, where she's just waiting for the government to give her some usable cannabis that she can use for the study, because it's going to be smoked. And even though, you and I can agree that that's not the healthiest way to do this, they kind of want to prove that with this sort of traditional method to show that can even benefit people, separate from the side effects. And but the government can't come up with any decent cannabis, nor will they allow anyone else to provide it. So, until that can happen, that's really politically, we're waiting to see if the descheduling has any juice. But more kind of on the scientific side, this study would show that cannabis for veterans, works, and they just keep on throwing up more and more obstacles to getting it kicked off.
So currently, a veteran, they can't go through the VA to get medical marijuana. They have to go through a private doctor.
Yeah, they could go through a private doctor in their state, but then they could risk again losing their VA coverage, right? Their VA meds, their disability coverage, by, right, violating the VA's policy that you're not allowed to use cannabis. So it's again one of these federal, kind of state disconnects, where the state says, hey, you're legal to be a medical patient here, but the VA says we're not recognizing that medicine. So, yeah, again, it's a real challenging problem.
Well, Ian, I want to thank you for all the hard work you're doing for our veterans, and it's an excellent cause. Do you
My pleasure. My pleasure. You too, brother.
do you have anything else you want to add?
No, just that. Well, I'll just, locally here, in Texas, we just had our medical bill and a decrim bill last night at midnight. Was the last, voting opportunity for any of these bills to happen, where they could actually get voted on. And not we got further than we ever did. We had our medical bill come out of committee 7-2 for the first time in Texas, and then went from one co-sponsor to 77 the next day, which was more than half the Texas House. But Texas's poor legislative process to get anything done ran out of time. But it just tells me that we all need to keep the faith, but this is a long fight, man. This is a long fight to free these plants to help humanity and the planet. So, because we're looking at another 2 years before we have a chance to have medical cannabis here in Texas, but we're not giving up. We're fighting till everyone has free access, freedom to grow the plant.
Well, Ian, we'd love to have you back on and to follow your progress and to keep everyone aware of what you're doing.
Right on, man. I love that.
We at Namaste Technologies are dedicated to helping our veterans. We're offering a discount on our products, and we'll be donating a portion of our proceeds from this campaign to veterans charities. Ian Benouis, thank you for coming on today, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
All right. Aho.
All right, have a great day.
You too, brother. Peace.